Love and work. Work and love, that's all there is. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Civilization began the first time an angry person cast a word instead of a rock. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. The goal of all life is death. I have found little that is good about human beings on the whole. In my experience, most of them are trash, no matter whether they publicly subscribe to this or that ethical doctrine or to none at all. That is something that you cannot say aloud, or perhaps even think. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. If youth knew, if age could. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is what does a woman want? A civilization which leaves so large a number of its participants unsatisfied and drives them into revolt neither has nor deserves the prospect of a lasting existence. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. If a man has been his mother's undisputed darling, he retains throughout life the triumphant feeling, the confidence in success, which not seldom brings actual success along with it. The mind is like an iceberg, it floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. The ego is not master in its own house. Flowers are restful to look at. They have neither emotions nor conflicts. Love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness. Neurosis is the inability to tolerate ambiguity. The conscious mind may be compared to a fountain playing in the sun and falling back into the great subterranean pool of subconscious from which it rises. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. The voice of the intellect is a soft one, but it does not rest until it has gained a hearing. Whoever loves becomes humble. Those who love have, so to speak, pawned a part of their narcissism. If you can't do it, give up. Dreams are often most profound when they seem the most crazy. Everywhere I go I find that a poet has been there before me. One is very crazy when in love. Every normal person, in fact, is only normal on the average. His ego approximates to that of the psychotic in some part or other and to a greater or lesser extent. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. What a distressing contrast there is between the radiant intelligence of the child and the feeble mentality of the average adult. Just as no one can be forced into belief, so no one can be forced into unbelief. The act of birth is the first experience of anxiety, and thus the source and prototype of the affect of anxiety. Men are more moral than they think and far more immoral than they can imagine. What we call happiness in the strictest sense comes from the, preferably sudden, satisfaction of needs which have been dammed up to a high degree. The psychoanalysis of neurotics has taught us to recognize the intimate connection between wetting the bed and the character trait of ambition. The first requisite of civilization is that of justice. Sigmund Freud. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love.